This is episode 30 of Ice Ice Beta, a podcast about ice climbing and ice tools. And I'm your host, Aaron Gary. Eliteclimb makes the lightest ice tools in the world, and it's not even close. It's possible because Jarosław Jarek Walewski uses a mix of carbon and kevlar composites and nothing else. The only metal in his tools are the bolts and picks. The one-man brand has been bucking industry trends for over a decade now, and it's his unique position as an independent craftsman that lets Jarek pursue solutions that the bigger brands ignore. By being attuned to the community and working with some of the world's best, their tools have been used on no-oxygen ascents of Lhotse, expeditions to places like K2 and Broad Peak, and at the highest end of dry tooling today. In this episode, we chat about how Jarek came to understand composites by working in one of the best glider factories in the world, why he chooses to make each tool by hand, the advantages of composite materials, and his philosophy on business, craftsmanship, and production. All that and more right after a quick message from our sponsors. Speaking of messages from our sponsors, if you'd like to not get those, consider supporting us on Patreon, where we share ad-free episodes. Thanks for listening, and on to our conversation for today. Gloves are essential for winter climbing, and with Anu, you're in good hands. As a boutique climbing brand, they only care about making the best ice climbing and dry tooling gloves around. There are no shareholders to report to. They earn their keep with an uncompromising pursuit of durable, dexterous, and waterproof. That's because it's part of the heart and soul of the company. It starts with decades of establishing first ascents on ice and mixed lines, combines generational glove-making know-how, and is topped off by a belief in sustainability. The result is ultimate care for the craft of climbing and design. To learn more, check out their gloves and story at anu.com. That is ANIIU.com. We get it. For us, ice season never really ends. It just kind of blends between rock, plastic, and plywood until waterfalls freeze over again. No matter how you climb in the off-season, Furnace Industries keeps you going till your next bout of screaming barfies. With their gym-safe dry ice evolutions, you can keep up your fitness indoors. And if you like to challenge yourself on your home wall, they have the largest variety of dry tool holds in America. Check out their full lineup of ice and dry tooling gear at furnace-industries.com. Because for us, it's always ice season. I hear you're a glider enthusiast. Is that a common hobby in Poland?
Yeah, well, you can say like that. A lot of my friends are enthusiasts of flying, of airplanes. But for me, it started as a small kid because my father was a fighter pilot. And I was dreaming about flying, about being something like him, yes. So that was a start of a passion for airplanes.
How did you get into gliders specifically versus airplanes then?
I started wearing glasses, so I didn't have a chance to become a pilot. So I started doing different things. And when we moved with my wife to Bielsko-Biała, I found work in a glider factory. So that was really nice for me to get back to my hobby.
But not just any factory. It's the leading design and research center for Polish gliders. At least it was at the time.
Yes.
Was that like a dream come true for you?
Well, you can say like that, but at the moment when I was starting the job, I didn't thought about gliders very much because I was thinking about jet planes and everything, doing a lot of noise. But any work close to airplanes was really nice for me. And that factory was, as you say, the leading factory in Poland and one of the best in Europe.
What's the name of the factory? Because I will not try to pronounce the names of it.
The older name was Szybowcowy Zakład Doświadczalny, so you won't say this.
Yeah, but I took one look at that on Wikipedia and I was like, no way.
Yes, no way. Yeah, but when I started to work there, it's a private company without this name, but with the name of the founder, yes, Papiorek. So it's one of the leading companies in Poland in that matter.
And still around today, it goes by the acronym of SZD, and it roughly translates to Glider Experimental Works in English.
Yes,
at least according
something
to
like
Wikipedia.
that. Yes, you can say that.
Are you still working there, or?
Yeah, sometimes I make parts for them. So yeah, we cooperate.
But you're mostly full time on making your own ice tools.
Yes.
And not just any ice tools. You're making them out of composite materials. So obviously, your background in gliders plays into that. So where did the idea for Eliteclimb, which is the name of your company, where did that come from?
Well, it comes from combining my passions, yes, for climbing, for mountains, and you can say for planes, yes. So that's a mixture that made this happen, yes.
I actually am curious because I don't know how gliding works, because I can understand it from like a speed flying or paragliding. That's the other sport. Because I can understand that like you walk to the top of a very high thing and then you jump off of it. But gliders are quite large, so actually, how does that work?
Yes. Well, gliders are searching of wind, yes, of proper wind that can take them up, yes. So you can soar the sky and you can just fly without an engine, yes. So they seem to be very big, but they are light and made to have really good flying properties, yes. So they have special profiles of wings that allow them to keep in the sky for a really long time.
Do you personally haul it up to a mountain and then take off from there, or are you being pulled by a plane to get lift off?
Well, there are several types. The cheapest way is to be attached to the special line that will take the glider up in the sky. You can be hauled in the sky with a plane to specific height, or there are very popular motor gliders that have small engine, really small, just for a start, and just to get a bit higher, and then they close the engine and they are normal gliders. Yes.
Gotcha. Within climbing, I think you said your real passion is for bigger wall stuff, especially in the Tatras. And so, what was the first tool that you designed?
Well, my first tool was modified hammer, mountain hammer. I made it. It was wooden, but I put some kevlar around, and that was a start of Eliteclimb products. Yes.
How did you move from creating the hammer to a tool?
I took that hammer for a climb in the mountains, in the Tatra mountains. We've been climbing Kazalnica. It's a really nice wall in Tatra mountains. We've been passing with another couple from a road next to us. There was a guy, Wojtek Richer. He's a really good climber and innovative person. And he asked me about, do I work with composites? And maybe I would be interested in designing, in making an ice tool. Yeah? And I said, well, why not? We can try. If you have some ideas, I can try to make it, but it can be quite difficult. But yeah, well, why not?
So were you guys like hanging out a belay?
Yes, well.
Were you chatting on the wall?
Yes. So for a while, when it was a long route, so it took a couple of hours. So we had some time to speak to each other.
So the first tool, it had more of a straight shaft. It was more of like a tool for mountaineering, from what I understand.
Yes, well, it was more for ice climbing and for alpine climbs.
Okay.
It's Salamandra that I still have in production. That was the first that we thought about together. I made some prototypes, and I really was lucky to get in touch with Artur Małek. So he's a Himalayist from Poland, one of the best Himalayas and ice climbers. he just look at it. Yeah, it has a potential. Yeah, we can work on it. And I definitely want to climb with something like that, he said.
What was the initial prototyping and development phase like that led you to get to a product that Arthur was willing to take on a Himalayan expedition?
Yeah, well, I made some prototypes, and we made with my friend engineer from factory. We made some tests to be sure that they are proper with strength. So I had proper test for certificates, and we just made by ourselves test list from certificates. Yes. So when I met Arthur, I was quite sure that they should be all right for climbing and for Tatras and everything you want to make. Well, but nevertheless, I was quite surprised that he took them to K2 next year.
Good gosh.
Yeah.
That's crazy that it was, relatively untested, and he's
Well, he's been climbing with them in Tatras for whole winter, so
okay.
basically he know that they won't break and they are solid. So well, but getting to the first 6 tools that are really working, it was quite a lot of work, quite of testing and preparing the materials, checking which one will be good, and thinking about the head, because all of the tool is made from carbon and kevlar, so without any metal parts inside, well, except a peak. It's obvious. But I think until now I still the only manufacturer of tools like that, so without any metal head.
When you were developing and prototyping and testing, how long did that take, from your initial designs? And I guess, could you talk about the iteration process? What did you find wasn't working, and where did you start to really, find your groove for design?
I'm quite fast person, so, and I also like to do everything really fast. When I have an idea, I have to make it really next day, yes, and or this second, yes. So you may say it was really fast because we've been climbing with Wojtek in the summer, and the first batch that was actually working was in the winter, yes. So I made 6 tools that are still working, yes, they are still climbing.
Oh, wow.
So it was just a few months. Yeah, I made quite a lot of research during that time and to get to know which material will work. At the beginning, I didn't have good picks, and later I found a manufacturer that is making picks for me for really long time now. That was more difficult process. You can say that it took more time than for me to think which material and how to make the right tool.
So where do you think your compulsion to move fast, and the phrase in America is move fast and break things. Presumably you don't want to be breaking your tools. So where does that idea, that mindset come from making things fast for you?
I think it's better to make something fast and to check how it works than think about it quite a lot of time, then make some steps to make it, and then after a few years check, no, it's not working. So when I have an idea of any new tool or some modification, I want to make it next batch. I want to make it better, yes.
I mean, you must be a tinkerer by nature, right? Because I think the traditional stereotype is for engineers to want to over-engineer something. So it seems like you're maybe more prone to production, getting feedback, and iterating.
I'm not a type of engineer, more of a technician, craftsman, or something like that. Yes, so that person who wants to make things, not to think about them and over-engineer. I like to make really simple things, so all of my tools are really simple design and simple to operate. So that's my goal as well, to make them as easy as they can be. Yes. During the manufacturing process, I also think how to use similar materials, yes, to not have a lot of materials in stock, to use the similar pattern of carbon in each tools. So it also simplifies the production process, and to use, I don't know, same bolts or same pattern of cloths. So it simplifies the whole process.
Was classifying yourself or thinking about yourself as an artisan, was that a conscious decision that you've made? Have you embodied that throughout your life? Because I that's such a like to be an artisan is a bit different mindset than one might have for just general design or engineering. You know, it's much more of like a craft, attention to detail, things like that.
Yeah, artisan. Wow, big word. But yeah, well, I like to make, uh, to have my touch in all those things that I'm doing. Yes, my ID, and to make them from the start to finish. Yes, so now I've learned how to paint tools. Earlier, I had a painter that I was giving the tools to paint them, but it was quite complicated, and it was easier for me to learn how to make them, to have the influence on each step of manufacturing. Yes, to know everything about it. Yes, so that was also my goal with this.
Oh, that's interesting. I guess we should clarify why we're using this language because you're making every tool by hand and you have since the beginning.
Yes, that's right. So each tool since 2013, yes, I'm making by myself. The only person that is making anything for me is metal supplier, yes, a pig supplier.
Can you talk about how composites work? Because you're making each of these by hand. You went through the process of understanding how each part of the process works. But I've never worked with composites outside of breaking a lacrosse shaft back in high school that was layered in Kevlar, which I don't think did anything. It looked really cool. But just for the general listener, so like what are the materials you're using? How does the construction work? And like maybe can you walk us through what putting together a tool looks like?
Yeah, well, it's a wide subject as well, but I'm using one of the technique. It's called wet layup. Yes, so I'm putting each layer in the mold and put the resin on it, and then next layer and next layer and next layer. So it's not a very common technology now because faster is using prep racks that are already filled with resin. You just put the amount of cloth to the mold and you heat it up and it's fine. And some other technologies like infusion or some other new things with carbon. I stick to the old technology that I've learned from the glider factory. So basically you have to know how much resin you have to put in each layer, not too much, not too less, and then put it correctly into the mold. And you also need to heat it up because epoxy resins like heat, so they have to be heated after process of forming. They got really strong after that. It's also really good for climbing, for all the activities that you can break into something. You can so you've got different layers in different directions. So any impact on the shaft don't go really deep, but even if you destroy anything, it won't break instantly like metal or something.
How are forces distributed? So for example, if I have, a long piece and I don't know, like are composite layers, are they matrices or are all the, for lack of a better term, filaments, are they like aligned in one direction? Like for a layer, how is force being distributed? Is it going down like the length of the piece or?
It's also difficult because you can get really different cloths. You can have unidirectional, you can have three axial, quadraxial, and they can be in different angles and with different materials. So it's my research which one to use. Yes, so you have to think how force should be distributed and then decide which material, which cloth, which pattern will be best to use.
Okay. I didn't realize you could have so much nuance in it. Because I was my layman thinking was like, oh, you would just like you would rotate the cloth around and that would give you more of that structural integrity and distribution of forces. But
yeah, when you want to think about it as a simple thing, yeah, your definition is okay, but you can make it more complicated with different cloth, different materials, also Kevlar carbon hybrids that are also that I'm using. The variety of materials is really big. So you've got also Dyneema. You can use really much more than also I'm using. I'm all the time I'm thinking also about different materials to use. I'm doing some research as well about different materials that can be helpful to make the tools a bit lighter or a bit stiffer. So yes, that's a part of my work as well.
I have so many questions, and I feel like I'm just stacking them in my short-term memory, hoping not to forget because I don't have them all written down. But what are some of the materials you've mentioned? Dyneema, and I'm wondering how light can you go? Because obviously, then you still need enough mass behind a swing to be able to penetrate ice. What do you think the lightest you could go is that would still be useful? And how did you work with your pick producer to be able to find a correct balance?
The lightest set that I've made was Salamandra tools, and I've used, I think, half of the material that I'm using regularly. I'm not sure about the weight now, but it was something like 200, 250 grams for one tool.
Wow.
Yeah, and even when my painter, my friend who was painting them, squeezed them and think, hey, you are not afraid? I can squeeze them inside a bit. Well, no, we will try how they work. And I gave them to Artur. He's been climbing with them in Tatra Mountains. Then we go to Uray for a small trip in US a few years ago. And I've been using them on ice climbing, and they were really good because you've got really light shaft and heavy peak, so they go into ice really easy. We've been climbing with them. I made it was funny because I made a small hole because I just pinched, I don't know, a rock or something, and there was a small hole, but I put some duct tape and thought, no, I'm climbing with them, so I'll try if they will be okay or not. And we've been climbing with them in US, and after we go back, I made the repair of that hole, and Artur was climbing with them all year round later, and they were really nice. So it's finally they got broke in Scotland, I think, after 2 seasons. But also I made a repair of them. Yes, so it's the set is still working.
Oh wow! So it's 250 grams for the tool, yes. And then on your website you list Salamandra total weight as like 350 to 430 grams, depending on the pick.
That's right.
So the pick is like 80% almost of the weight.
Yes. The peak is, I think, 120 grams or something like that. So
okay.
You've got really great balance because the shaft is really light and the peak is heavy. So you don't need so much force to hit the ice. So you just need acceleration, yes, because strength is mass times acceleration, yes. So if you don't have big mass, it's easy to have a big acceleration and it goes really easy to ice.
So you really concentrating the swing. I mean, it's comparable to a
Yes.
hammer where it's like the force is being concentrated into that tip.
Yes, that's right. You can also put
okay.
peak weights on the peaks, so you've got even more of that.
One of the questions from JJ actually was, differences in production for like the Polish market versus Europe as a whole versus the US. Because I know one thing is I'm from like the northeast of the US, and waterfall ice, frozen waterfall ice tends to be much harder than like glacial ice in the Alps, for example.
Yes.
And so how do you design and develop for those different types of environments? Presumably the Tatras are waterfall ice too, no? It's probably much harder.
Some people say it's grass climbing. So
okay.
yeah, it's more like in Scotland. Yes, in Tatra Mountains, you've got quite difficult environment for climbing. Alps are, I think, more comfortable with more water and ice. Also, I don't have a lot of experience in winter climbing. Yes, I've climbed only a few seasons, but I listen to really experienced climbers like Artur Małek, like JJ, and some other climbers from Poland, and they are saying me what to make better in my tools or what to put impact to make tool really good for a specific environment. So I just listen and try to make them as good as I can.
Well, there's also customizability
Yes.
that you can put into each individual tool, right? Because you can
Yes.
You can add more layers, you can add more material in certain
Yes.
places, things like that.
That's right. Well, for example, Morpho, I'm making in 3 different types for ice, for mixed climbing, and for heavy duty, as you can say, and also for competition. And they all go from one mold, but different layers, different pattern allows me to make tools specially for the exact environment. Yes. Also, customization through all those years, I had really different customers. So one person also, for example, wanted to have raptors shorter 5 centimeters. Yes, so that was the funniest, I think, customization to make them shorter. Yes, and so you can make everything with carbon when you have ability, when you have technology.
I'm wondering what the exchange of ideas and implementation looks like between you and like Artur or JJ, because if you're not coming from a background with a lot of experience in ice climbing, you're sort of taking best guesses on your own about geometry and needs in an environment, things like that. I guess, like, is the shape of the Salamandra or your Raptor, Morpho's quite a bit different. Was it more just evaluating other tools in the market at the time and sort of choosing curvature that you think would work and then testing it and then implementing, and then obviously like a big part of it's working with your pick maker as well. I guess I'm wondering how you were thinking about pick angle and curvature and things like that.
At the beginning with me, I was like a blank page, yes, you can say in winter climbing. So it was easy to work with me for Artur or for Wojtek to say the ideas, yes, that for the geometry and for the profiles and everything, because I didn't have the knowledge that they have. So I was open for ideas. I was lucky to get the people close to me that are really thinking in good way, because not every really good climber can make good inventions, yes, because not every person are thinking what will be better if he make the curvature a bit different or make a peak different or something like that, some details, yes. I was lucky to get Artur Małek close. He's really good climber and he knows all the details about the tools. And also JJ. Yes, I met JJ in Uray and yeah, we speak. Well, maybe you could make something for competition for hard mix. And I said, well, I don't have any experience in that, but yeah, if you will think something, some shapes, yeah, we can try. And after a few years of checking the background, of checking different tools, he sent me a model that should work. Yes.
I guess I'm curious because you're designing tools for different applications and with the Morpho, obviously it's being used at the very highest end of comp climbing and then outdoor dry tooling. But in speaking with some people who have used tools for dry tooling in the past, I don't know how valid this is, but they were commenting that they were always afraid to drop their tools because they didn't want to damage the structural integrity. What kind of stresses are composites particularly good at handling? Is it like compression, strength, tensile, elongation, things like that? And like, should people be concerned about dropping their tools?
Most concerns about composites are getting from the bike industries, yes, because the frames are really delicate and they can break on small rock or something like that. So, but they are made in different technology. They are made from prepregs and they are really light and they are on the border, yes. So they are much lighter than. For me, I don't have a carbon bike, so I'm a bit afraid about this. So, but for ice tools, for mixed climbing or for dry tooling for competition, I can make them as hard as they should be, as stiff as they should be, to fight with all those strengths for tensile, for stretching and everything. So I'm quite safe about it. Yes, after all those years that I'm doing the tools, I think only 4 or 5 have got broken, but they were really tested to enormous strength. So as for dropping from climbs, yeah, I was thinking about it, but I've speak with JJ and he didn't find any issues with that. Found some guys dropping them from high roofs and nothing happened. I think it can be safe because the tool is morphos are light and they are the most of the weight is in the head, and I think they are going down, especially on the peak. Yes, so and they can easily bounce, and also they are wrap around with the grip. Yes, so I think that secures them from be destroyed by hitting the ground, hitting the rock. I think that's not a very big problem. So with Morpho.
And I mean, they're probably being subjected to a lot more force from
Yes,
torquing,
climbing. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Since I'm making Morpho, so I've been speaking with JJ. Hey, how do you think if they are not breaking or we don't get any damages with them? And he's saying me, no worries. I have friends that are breaking all the tools that on the market, and they are not able. They weren't able to break Morpho. So that's the best test.
I was reading an article about early days of Black Diamond.
Mm-hmm.
This is when they had some of the strongest climbers in the world working for them. So like Alex Lowe, for example, was on staff. They were talking about how they did product development and the testing methodology, and they would just go, I forget what they called it. But basically it ended up being they would just go into the back alley and then just like hit it for like 10,000 times against the concrete or something.
Yeah, that's right.
What, like, because obviously your tools are T-rated. So like, what kind of testing are you doing to meet those standards?
Certificates are standard tests. Yes, so you've got different positions of tool, and it gets proper strength added to special points. Yes, specific points. First, it has to be keep in a fridge to have minus 30 degrees of Celsius. I think it's in the certificate, and then you start with the test. So basically, that's how it goes. It's quite complicated, but I can show you later how where are the points of the test. Yes, because it's difficult for me to explain that.
Since you brought it up, I am curious, like, what are the circumstances under which some of the tools have broken? I mean, they are being taken to some of the most extreme environments, K2 being an example.
Well, I didn't have any issues on expeditions. So Filip Babic, he's a really great athlete as well, like Mateo Pion, yes, and he's using my tools as well. So he managed to break D17. It's really curved tool, only for climbing in roof. Well, it was really specific placement of a tool, yes. So it was in the crack, and it was really uncommon placing, yes, and that was the time he broke it. But now I made some modifications also in that D17, and he's climbing with them, and that problem does not occur. And I think Zach broke one, Zach Saint-Jules, yes. That was also the problem with the head, because I didn't give him proper pick or proper bolts, and he just squeezed them inside, and the head was damaged before he started to climb, yes, and then he broke them. So it's half my fault, yes, you can say. So I didn't have any big issues in the mountains with climbers. So for me, that's the most important, because I know that the top high-end athletes like Filip Babic do things with those tools that like no climber is doing with them. So it's okay.
So we've talked about, the types of stresses that composite materials can handle and the different environments that the tools are going into and all that. But there are a lot more, I guess, positives and negatives about these types of materials as well. So one example being, they don't conduct cold, so they're, that's quite useful. Maybe can you just talk about maybe some of the other like attributes of composites?
Well, the first, when you touch all the composite tools, or I don't know, the shovel that I'm making, you get the impression of much less weight. Yes, so it's really a shock for all the customers when they first touch those tools. Yes, and it's really almost half of the weight of normal tools. So that's the biggest advantage, I think, that I can get. You said about thermal conductivity. Yes, so it really helps in high altitude, really in all expeditions. I have Paul Ramsden that is using my tools. He achieved 5 times PL, and he was making tests of normal metal tool and my tools, and he get them to the fridge to minus 30 or something like that, and he's been grabbing with his hand in the glove, and he get there 10 degrees of between my tool and the metal one. Yes, so it's really big difference for when climbing in the environmental like that. So you've got also bigger stiffness of that material. You can put different layers that I told you earlier. They have bigger endurance. Yes, it's really tough to break this tool because of those different layers, different materials. It won't break instantly. Yes, so even if you hear that something is going on, you still can climb. Yes, it's not breaking in 1 second and you've got nothing. Yes. Also, big advantage is that you can easily change the structure while production. Yes, when you think that it can be stiffer or it can be lighter, or you get better material to get lighter tool, and you also save a lot of energy, a lot of mass that you have to hold through the whole climb. When you climb 8,000-meter peak, you save, I think, few tons of mass that you have to take upper. Yes, Adam Bielecki, one of the best Himalayas, was counting this also, and he told me that when I'm climbing 8,000 peak, I save few tons of of mass getting higher. So Those were main things that I remember about it.
Are you doing this full time? Like, are you comfortable with like your income, obviously, to be able to live off this, and like you're working full time, but does that actually translate to 40 plus hours a week? I guess I'm trying to get a sense of like, is this like a all in startup business, or is this more of like a lifestyle thing, or how are you thinking about the business?
I have small diversity of income. Not on this is my main work, but I still have some smaller things. I think I'm not working 40 hours. Yeah, it's quite difficult with the time last year, but it's much less than 40 hours. So as for the price, some may say that it's really high, but it's really on the market. When you watch the prices of different tools, it's not very high. Yes, because I don't know, Nomics or different tools are getting closer to my tools. Well, those are mass production. Yes, so this one is, each tool is handmade, handcrafted. Everything is taking much more time. So the price is still low to amount of work that I'm putting to them. Yes, but as I'm working only myself, it's easier for me to keep the price on the lower end. Yes, you can say.
It seems like a pretty a nice balance between being able to put time towards a craft and also still have like a lot of flexibility.
Yes. Sometimes people are thinking that it has to expand. Yes, you have to employ someone.
Yeah.
You have to make a bigger factory. But I'm thinking that I like to do this. Yes, and it's a way of life for me, and it gives me really satisfaction to make all those tools. So I can stay on that level. It's fine for me. I'm looking for on the craftsmen in US, like, I don't know, Alpine Ludities or some other people like that. And I like the way of life that they are showing, they are making. It's in business, you don't have to constantly grow the numbers and sale and everything. So I think it's good to have the truth and your person in that thing. Yes, that I can write that I made every tool by myself, and I'm really happy about that. Yes, so it's, for me it's okay like that.
Growth not as the central tenet of a business sounds an awful lot like communism.
Yes, that's right. it's
Um,
it's more like growth in yourself. Yes, because
yeah.
making products better, to not the numbers but the quality. Yes, you can say something like that. Yes.
Yeah. Obviously, I was being facetious and or sarcastic, and
Yes.
I think there's a tendency to continue to want to expand, build, and there's a certain like carrying capacity for some types of businesses where like it just doesn't make sense to grow it beyond, or like there's values like you want to have it a certain level.
Yeah, that's right. And especially with my technology, yes, it's difficult to learn someone to make it correct. And after few years of learning, he can say, well, okay, bye bye, I don't want to work with you. And what then? Yes, so I think it's better to keep it on my proper level. Yes, and know the quality, that it's okay all the time.
Did you always, because you spoke about how you would have ideas and you'd want to make them quickly, but did you always have an entrepreneurship drive or this inclination to do your own thing?
No, not really. It's funny because when we met with my wife, I speak to her that no, I don't want to be any businessman. I don't want to have my own business. I would like to be employee, get a good job, and have time for climbing and everything. So that was quite funny, that change that occurred with me. Yes.
You live in Bielsko-Biała?
Yes.
Because it's interesting because I think I came across it a few last year. I was looking for like a lightweight down jacket, and I want to say one of the manufacturers was based there. And then we were talking, and you were saying that yeah, it's actually a hub for new companies and especially for the outdoor space. So obviously, I could see like that influencing your willingness or belief that like this is possible. Do you think like being in that environment was that an influence for starting this thing going forward?
Definitely, it does. Well, when I moved to Bielsko-Biała, I've joined the mountain club, yes, mountain society here. I started to know more people connected to mountains, to climbing. When I just started the Eliteclimb, yes, my tools. So I've get to know a lot of Himalayas from Śląsk. It was really close to me to get to know people that I was reading earlier in the magazines, yes, in the mountain magazines. So it was really something strange for me when I first met Artur Małek. I didn't think what he will think about me. A guy come from the street and giving his tools. So what's what he will think about me? So. And earlier I was reading about him in the magazines that he and Adam Bielecki went on a broad peak in winter, yes. So no, it was like a jump into outer space, yes. Yeah, definitely environment helps me with this growth, with growth of the idea of making something for mountains, for climbers, yes.
You've been doing this for over 10 years at this point. What have been some of the lessons learned for you?
You have to choose the right projects, like the right persons to work with you, to get the right thoughts, yes, to go with them. So not all the projects that I've started have become the products, yes, you can say something like that. After some years, you get the sense sixth sense that you are thinking, yeah, no, that this not work or this will work, and yeah, that's a great idea. I think the simplicity of production is really helpful. For me, it's quite important to work on my own, yes, without any money from the government or some other things, to have the right balance between investing and the margin, yes, or how do you say that? So something like that, yes, not to over invest, yes. Even in the production, yes, you have to think what will work, maybe not the biggest level of margin, but small steps to create something bigger, yes. It's different philosophy than most of businessmen's, yes, thinking that we spoke earlier, that grow. I like to do small steps in this that will lead to better future, yes. Yes.
Do you want the company to continue? Inevitably, you'll get older. Would you want this business to continue?
I'm thinking sometimes about it. Yeah, it would be good, I think. I don't know if any of my sons will be interested in that or not. Well, we will see. But yeah, I definitely want to do this until I will be unable to to walk or things like that. Yes, but yeah, I would like to do it as long as I can.
And since you brought up products that never materialized, that never came to exist, what were some of the ideas that you were playing with?
Well, there were funny, some of them. It was something like a nice tool for competition made from ideas from Olga Kosek. So it was on the beginning of my journey. So I didn't know much about all the geometry and everything, but the idea was to make it much more larger and with a bigger reach. So I made few of prototypes. Yeah, and they were indeed very large. But before the box, UAA box came, So after that, the process have stopped because they are not in they couldn't fit in the box.
That's wild. So did she actually end up using them in a competition?
No. There were just few prototypes, and we've been trying what to do with them, but finally it didn't get very far. So that was one of the the projects. Another one was that I didn't made any more production was the Neo. Yes, I made a really light ski touring tool, but it was like 200 grams, but it didn't work very well. It's better to have a bit heavier tool that is more useful in all climbing situations. Yes, I'm making crook. It's also about 300 grams, but you have got now good peak, T-rated peak, and you can climb with it, and it's safe and it works really good. So I'm not chasing the lightness as my main goal. Yes. So,
Yeah. Well, so you mentioned you went to Ure early on in the business. What did that do for the business? Like, how did that influence things basically as you were getting started?
It was on the beginning of my of the Eliteclimb. It was, I don't know, second or third year. The idea of that came from Olga Kosek, yes, because she was starting in the competitions, and she told me about the festival that is something special and everything, and it's one of the kind in the whole world. And I've decided, yeah, well, so I have to try. If I want to sell them somewhere, if I want to offer them, that will be the best place. Yes, when people can try them actually on the climbs. Yes, during the climbing. It was quite funny because I haven't been on any trades or festivals earlier, and I just prepared, I don't know, 20 tools or something like that to have a demo, and went by myself. So it was quite funny and difficult for me because I didn't know anyone in US, so it was first time for me. So I have to make everything by my own, to rent a car, to have somewhere to sleep, and everything organized. But it was really fun. It was I made really nice people there. People from Ure Ice Park helped me with the booth, and I was really hosted great from them. And a lot of people came to the booth and tried them. Well, it's too light. It's not working. Come on. Yeah, you can try. Please take for climbing. And they were coming back. Wow, I don't want to have any other metal tools. They are working great. How do you make them and everything? It was really nice to me also to get that feedback from people just climbing and to see the smiling faces. Yes, how it really works. Yeah, it was something like opening a new doors for me. Yes, so I went to Ure and to US a few times more. Also one with Arthur, and it's really helping. It's to have a contact with clients, to have them tried tools, and to share your story. Yes, because they can know who is behind this. Yes, it's not only cold piece of carbon or something that is here. Yes.
There's a photo of you from the 2016 Ure Fest, and
Yes.
you look cold.
Yeah, well, but cold outside, but warm inside.
There's also on that same about page, you're holding a tool that maybe I'm wondering if it was the one designed for Olga, but it has a really, really steep curve. I mean,
Yeah, that's this one. Yes.
that's wild. It looks like
That's
a
one.
crane.
Yes.
It's like
Yeah,
pointing downwards.
like Captain Hook.
Yeah. Wow.
Yes, but it was funny to make it, and I still have it in my museum.
Oh, cool. So this is the last question, and it's one
Yes.
I ask every guest. If you were to give your younger self one piece of beta, Could be for climbing or life or really anything. What would that be?
Follow your ideas, yes, and don't forget about your dreams. And yeah, well, it's like a bomb mod, yes, but it's also to read signs around, yes, and know what to do because someone is giving you a sign, yes, that you have to. It's better to start doing something, yes, like with me after that climb with Wojtek. And consider also the negatives, yes. Don't be closed for negatives, but if you get something negative, think about it, and if it's rational, make it better, or make some updates with your products or with your life. So not stay focused only on positives.
To learn more about Eliteclimb's tools, head to eliteclimb.com. All of their tools can be customized from weight, strength, length, colors, etc. So if you're interested, be sure to reach out to Jarek. On the website, you can also read trip reports from expeditions where their tools have been used. And lastly, there are more updates on their Instagram, @Eliteclimb. As always, thank you to Hannah Noel for providing the intro music and Andrew Solomon for editing. See you all next week.